going on, everybody? Welcome to a brand new edition of the Chris Stevens Writes YouTube show. If you are new to this channel, I welcome you. My name is Chris Stevens. I'm a journalist, sports writer, novelist, music lover, car nerd, sports fan, commentator on all things society, culture, and everything that you'll find in this particular vlog slash podcast. So welcome if you're new. If you're a lurker or returning subscriber, I thank you for coming back. And don't forget to like and comment on these videos so we can get the algorithm popping, so more eyes and ears can be on this channel. And we finally reached the milestone. We finally reached it. I've been pleading, begging. I've done everything except, start selling stuff on OnlyFans to get us to 100 subscribers. And we finally made it to 100 subscribers late last week. I thank you guys for coming by and subscribing to the channel. It's still very early in the process. Hopefully, the more guests, more interesting content I'm able to create on this channel. I swear I'm going to do a cooking video for you guys. I think when I bake my cakes for Thanksgiving, because my mom is expecting me to obviously bring one of her favorites that she enjoys that I bake, and that's the cream cheese pound cake. So I may take you guys inside that process, going into Thanksgiving. So stay on the lookout for that. So yes, we made it to 100 subscribers. There's more stuff to come on this channel. I thank you guys for coming by. Hopefully you stay. Greatly appreciate it. And let's talk. I'll talk back in the comments. We have good dialogue in the comments, so feel free to stop by. So I'm not going to waste too much time on the election because, there are people far smarter than I told y'all this shit was coming and that the shit that is still to come is not good for any of us. But I just have to say that white America and white women in particular definitely they did their big one. They did their Lucy Van Pelt. So many women in that ilk were like, oh, I'm so afraid of my rights being taken. Oh, I'm so afraid. I'm voting behind my husband's back, so he doesn't know I'm voting for Kamala Harris. So explain how y'all jumped from 54% the last election to 57% for Trump. Any clues? Any thoughts? Any feelings on that? I don't know. You tell us. But y'all done messed yourselves over because black women are tired. Black women have always been tired of carrying the load, but I'm seeing more sisters now than I ever had before saying, y'all got it. And that is a bad place for America to be because black women have sparked a ton of revolutions and evolutionary moments in the culture and in American history. And now that they are tired of being stabbed in the back by women who have chosen whiteness over their gender, good luck. You're going to need it. Because right now, everything that dude and his cronies they're saying are going to do, they're probably going to do because there's no good Republicans. And were you really a good Republican if you were working for him in the first place? But there are no good Republicans left to stop him from doing whatever the hell he wants to do. And that's trouble for all of us. But we're going to take, black people, we're going to take our time. We're going to figure this out for us this time because there's so many, different voting blocks who threw the stones and hid their hands. And now that they're, realizing what they've done, they're scared and they're like, oh my God, maybe we should have listened to black people. Maybe you should have. That's on y'all though. We all gonna suffer, but y'all just gonna be surprised at how much you suffer because you weren't suffering before. But now, good luck. You're gonna need it. We're all gonna need it. But I think black people, as always, we will be all right. Y'all, I don't know. Because y'all not built for this. Y'all not built for this struggle. Y'all didn't get pulled over here on boats 400 years ago. Y'all didn't get kept in chains and tatters and sexual assault, for 200 plus years. Y'all new to this. Y'all new to this side of town. Y'all not used to being sure, you had gotten taste of being ostracized because of your race, but y'all don't understand that the country was built off the backs of black people, and yet people still treat us like we are the scourge of the earth. Cool. But y'all seem to think that because everything that black people built paved the way for y'all, that y'all could just turn your backs on black people. Good luck. Good luck. Good luck. So I wasn't going to talk too much about it, but yes, that's all I got. Like I said, you can find election podcasts and, social election and politics podcasters far more versed in this than I. All I know is I did my part. I voted. maybe for the last time. And I'm not saying, no, I would never vote again. I'm just saying we won't be able to vote again, is what I'm saying. But time will tell. But yes. Uh so what else is going on? Oh, yes. We lost a certified legend. I mean, there are people who get the term legend and icon thrown around about them all the time. But Quincy Delight Jones Jr. was the living embodiment of that. We say he died in his home in Los Angeles last week. Uh Monday, is it? Was it Monday or it was either Sunday or Monday at the age of 91. Quincy lived a full life. And remember, he wasn't supposed to live a full life because he had a lot of because he had brain surgeries, and he was told by the doctors, don't play the trumpet or that clip that we put in your brain it's gonna be over for you. So Quincy defied the doctors, went and played trumpet, had this monster headache, went back to doctors. That doctor said that clip came loose. See, we told you, put that damn trumpet down. And unfortunately, because he was a bebop, like Quincy Jones, oh my God, we'll talk about that in a minute, because his start was in bebop and jazz, and of course he was a trumpet player. That had to hurt him to say that, okay, I can never play trumpet again. But he found ways to do music in a way that very few producers have done music. Just the credits speak for themselves, man. I mean, soul bossa nova, which of course is the better known to those of us a certain generation as Austin Powers theme song. $1 million. Yeah, baby. Yeah. So much that he's done. Sanford and Son theme song. Produced Michael Jackson's undeniable run from 1979 to 1987 with Off the Wall, Thriller, and Bad. And then there's, the not as famous stuff, but still very important, like George Benson, Brothers Johnson, the Back on the Block. Well, the Back on the Block album was one of the first cassettes that I was able to have, and my mom not pitch a fit about it, because my sister actually bought Run DMC's Raising Hell for me when I was 5. That was in 1986. My mom was pissed off because of the title of the album, Raising Hell, #1. But yeah, Back on the Block was something my mom was a little more comfortable with me listening to. And I'll talk more about why one song on Back on the Block stands out among all the rest in a minute. But I mean, his Quincy Jones's run in music and in entertainment, mind you. I mean, this is the same dude who created Vibe magazine, who helped create Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. All of these different avenues for Black people and Black musicians to be seen, to be heard, to be felt, to be respected, to be admired, to be adored, and all of that. We don't have people like Quincy. I mean, we lost Clarence Avant a couple of years ago. I mean, but the Black Godfather was obviously the Black Godfather and Quincy. If you've not seen those two documentaries, yeah, you'll have to pay for Netflix to do it, but you won't be disappointed. You'll find out just how these two brothers who were Depression era children became larger than life. Not just in a Black space, but in a world space. So I highly recommend you check out The Black Godfather, which is about Clarence Avant, and Quincy, which of course is about Quincy Jones. Just go watch those two back to back, and you'll see why these are monumental losses for the culture. And Quincy he just knew how to get the most out of people. Like, there's not too much you can say about, that hasn't been said about his career in music, but just the fact that this dude lived so long to be able to get off crazy takes about how horrible the 45th and now 47th president was as a human being. How Marlon Brando would screw a mailbox if he could. And apparently he was active with both genders and people that, in our community who, because Black people, we do have this problem with homophobia. We do. And biphobia. So, Quincy dropping, the deets on Marlon Brando potentially hooking up with Richard Pryor and Marvin Gaye. It was just like, what? Like, people just absolutely lost their minds about that. But when you're as old as Quincy was, who cares? I mean, yes, people's personal business, but I mean, people probably just look at it, oh, that Quincy. He's a character, that type of thing. But maybe it's true, maybe it's not. We don't know. But just to have the life that this dude had, born in Chicago, um, to a hard luck life, growing up. His mom was, dealing with a mental illness. His father was in and out. I mean, his father raised him, but Quincy, when they got to Seattle, I mean, he was on his own devices. And it's so interesting that three of the most consequential black musicians of all time all got their real start in Seattle, Washington. That's Quincy Jones, Ray Charles, and of course the greatest guitarist who ever lived, Jane Marshall, called him Jimi Hendrix. Like, Seattle was just like a very interesting place. I mean, the Pacific Northwest for black people has always been like kind of like the hotspot when you take into account the Bay Area in California. There's a black population in Portland, Oregon. And of course, I just mentioned Seattle, Washington or whatever. So, but yeah, Quincy Jones definitely made an impact. Like that's an understatement, quite frankly. Who takes his place? Because people like Quincy, who stuck to their principles but still were able to rise, they don't come along very often. And the one dude who probably could have been something like a Quincy Jones, he basically has just been outed as the worst predator to ever exist. And yes, it is unfortunate. Never forget, when the election results came in, Basi Ikpi, a great poet and a mental health advocate, she said, Diddy's getting pardoned, right? And it was like, yep, no doubt about it. So, yeah, he'll walk free eventually, but people will already know that he is the scum of the earth, and only people who are desperate for clout and money will actually flock to him. But yes, guys like Quincy, guys like Berry Gordy, they don't come along very often. And when they do, Berry Gordy is still with us, by the way. Berry Gordy is 95 years old, man. 95. Unbelievable. God bless Berry Gordy. Berry Gordy wasn't perfect, obviously. There's the whole original points and royalties thing that, a lot of black music label entrepreneurs have copied from and been able to get over on their artists with. So, Berry Gordy's not perfect, but, Berry Gordy made black popular music a thing in America. There's no denying that. But yes, he's still with us. 5 years old. Wow. That's another one that we really need to, cover in bubble wrap. Him and Stevie. There's a few others, but yeah, Berry Gordy and Stevie come to mind. But yeah, those guys, they don't come along very often. And when they do, you feel like you've been blessed to just kind of sort of exist in the same timeline as those people. Like Quincy was just, every time I heard Quincy Jones speak, I stopped. And I'm one of those people that my attention span has gotten shorter as I've gotten older, which is crazy. I watch videos all day, as a part of my work and part of, trying to keep this podcast solvent and relevant. But, every so often there'll be a video every first 5-10 seconds. I'm out on it. But Quincy, I watched everyone through. Entertainment Tonight posted an interview he did with Kevin Frazier a while back, and everything Quincy had to say was just like, hitting on the mark. And he's like, the last thing he said, before that interview broke, he said, if you empty your cup, give 100%. If you empty your cup, it'll fill back up twice. And that to me was just like kind of like a lightning, not a lightning bolt, but a light bulb moment, as it were. It was like a light bulb moment. It's like, so you got to put in the work with anything you do. Yeah, I knew that, but just to hear from somebody as accomplished and successful and as legendary as Quincy Jones, that he never really rested on his laurels, so to speak, it was just like, okay, time to get back to work. So, we gonna mourn what could have been with VP Harris, and God bless her and God bless black women. Thank you just for being you. Ain't about what you do and about, your activism or anything. Y'all just exist. And we thank you for that. But yeah, VP Harris, there's already a picture of her playing with her great nieces, hair up in a bun, Howard sweat shirt and leggings and a glass of wine beside her. She's chilling. She's fine. If she chose to run for governor of California, because I know Gavin Newsom's term limit is coming up, she would probably crush it. But if she decides never to set foot in politics again, she's earned that right. But yes, back to Quincy. So this really turned out to be an episode about Quincy Jones, which was not on my bingo card because I wasn't sure what else I wanted to talk about. I know I didn't want to spend too much time on the election, but I can tell you this has been a very fun discussion of Quincy Jones. But I'm going to tell you why. I mentioned one song off of Back on the Block that stands out from all the rest. And I'm going to tell you why. It is when you look up Quiet Storm in the dictionary, The Secret Garden is the definition. It is the greatest Quiet Storm song ever written, recorded, and distributed. That's right. The Quiet Storm will have been around 50 years in 1976. In 2026, excuse me. It started in 1976. But if the world is not completely gone to hell by then, we'll be celebrating the 50th anniversary of the Quiet Storm in 2026. So when you think about all the great songs and artists in that genre, I mean, you got Teddy, you've got Smokey Robinson, who, of course, Quiet Storm blowing through my life. I'm not much of a vocalist, but I try for y'all anyway. Except my guest says they are. So there's Smokey, there's Teddy, there's Anita Baker, there's Minnie Riperton. Oh my God. I mean, the Quiet Storm genre is probably the most important radio genre in Black music because so many people started, making playlists and, well, back then you had to tape something off the radio. If you're of a certain age like I am, you remember you used to have to hit the play and the record button at the same time to get your song. You had to wait for the DJ to stop talking, and then you had to time it so the DJ wouldn't talk when at the end of the song. So you'd have your blank tapes, whether it was Maxwell or Maxell or whatever. TDK, Sony, whew, it was a great time. I mean, you literally had to just sit there with one finger on play, one finger on record. And then when you knew your song was coming up, DJ would usually introduce it and you just hit bam. And then you record the song. And then you'd have to sit with your finger by the stop button so the DJ tried to time it so the DJ wouldn't talk over the song. And you had to be really good. Like you had to listen for a fade before the fade was out because a lot of album versions were different from the single versions. Of course, the single versions were the ones that made it to radio. People didn't start playing album versions of Quiet Storm cuts until, probably like 15, 20 years ago, if then. So you really had to be mindful you had to listen for fades a little closer and then bam. And that was how you did it. So yes, why I think The Secret Garden is the greatest Quiet Storm song of all time. It's sex, it's romance, it's intimacy, and it's dynamite musicianship. Those are the four things that make a Quiet Storm song elite. And there are few more elite songs out there in Quiet Storm than The Secret Garden. So when you think about, and Quincy Jones enlisted all of his heavy hitters for Secret Garden. Saida Garrett was doing background vocals. Greg Fillingames was on the Fender Rhodes. Steve Lukather from Toto, who was always one of Quincy's trusted collaborators, he was on a lead guitar. That doo, 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 doo. A white dude playing a jazz lick that soulful is just like, God bless, man. God touched Steve Lukather on that solo, boy, on that rhythm part. And then of course you have the singers, two of which who have since passed on. Barry White, who left us in 2003, and James Ingram, the criminally underrated James Ingram that left us in 2019. And you still have Al B. Shore and El DeBarge. So it's one of the best social media arguments in the Black social media space. Who had the best verse on The Secret Garden? Or if you could rank them. Okay. So Chris Stevens today, as I'm recording this, how would I rank the best verses on Secret Garden? Okay. So I think I'm going to go with Barry at number one because he already sets the temp, he sets the tempo right at the beginning, tell me a secret. I don't want to know about any secret of yours. I want to know about one special secret. I wish I had a voice as deep as Barry White's. Apparently, I have to smoke a ton of cigarettes to get it. So it's just never going to be me. I mean, would I look like 43 years old picking up a pack of Marlboros for the first time? Absolutely not. But yeah, Barry says in Temple right there. And then he comes back in after L's part. He's like, I'll take good care of you. That's what a man is supposed to do. See, intimacy. And I'll be there for you all the time. Yeah, like, so Barry's number one. Um, I go James Ingram as 1A because the intensity with which he sang. I mean, Al, L, and Barry were really smooth, but there was an insistent need from James Ingram on the Secret Garden that wasn't needy, that wasn't stalkerish, that wasn't psycho. It was just like, I have got to have you. You know, I know a melody that we can sing together. I got the secret key to you, baby. Let's make music, harmonizing ecstasy. Come on, come on, come on, come on and sing it to me. Here in the garden. And then, of course, when he's done, your secret garden. And then I ain't gonna do the woo because my throat would just absolutely just rip out. So, but you know the woo that the woohoo that James Ingram does at his end of Secret Garden. So that's 1A. L is number 2 or 3 in this case. You know, but he was just a smooth wit. I mean, his verse didn't last very long, but you know, he said what he had to say. I want to be with you. Let me lay beside you. Do what you want me to all night. Gonna hold you. Ooh, baby, can I touch you? See, consent was always a thing. It was always a thing. He said, ooh, baby, can I touch you there? Can I touch you there? He said, oh, no. He didn't say, bam, I'm going to touch you there. He said, bam, touch you there right now. He's like, ooh, baby, can I touch you there? Consent has always been a thing. Why people are afraid of it now is a mystery to me. And when I say people, I mean dudes. So, and then of course, I think it's unfair to say Al B. Sure brings up the rear, which is, you know, not really fair to him. But when you're on a track with somebody like James Ingram, who never got the credit he deserved, Barry White, who was a living legend, El DeBarge, who was hot at the moment, Al B. Sure was kind of like the new Jack in that group. And I mean, they're not a group, but I mean, they were the singers in on the song. But, you know, as the new Jack, you kind of sort of, you get pushed aside a bit. But in order to, you know, set the table, as it were, like Al B. Sure was the leadoff hitter, to use a baseball term. You know, you need a leadoff hitter that is going to be able to make the pitcher throw pitches, get on base, whether it's with a walk or a single or something of that nature. So Al B. Sure pretty much was the guy that was standing there in the batter's box taking pitches. And he got, you know, his pitch and made it count and got on base so that James Ingram could move him over, El DeBarge could move him over, and then Barry White hits the grand slam. So, I mean, as far as leadoff hitters go, as far as, you know, setting, you know, the tone for a song, you know, once the singing begins, I'll be sure did a damn good job. So it's not fair to say that he's bringing up the rear, but it's just that, you know, L was a little bit smoother. James Ingram, like I said, that passion, that insistent desire was high. And then, of course, Barry White, I mean, just on the voice alone. Show you right. Let me find your secrets. So that is why I believe The Secret Garden is the greatest Quiet Storm song ever created. It's 35 years old, and whenever you hear, you know, that little cymbal part, and then of course the doom, which is of course Greg Fillingane's on the Fender Rhodes, and then Luke Cather's a guitar. Do 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 do. There's just not a lot more that can be said about The Secret Garden. It is the greatest Quiet Storm song of all time. And of course, it was partially written by Quincy Jones and, of course, the late, great Rod Temperton. So Rod Temperton and Quincy Jones made magic on that song, buddy. Make no mistake about it. It's the greatest Quiet Storm song ever created. And Quincy Jones left a life of music, a life of art, a life of motivation and inspiration for people to, you know, fall on, you know, lean on to get themselves going. And God bless him, man. Peaceful journey to the GOAT. Like there won't be another producer There won't be another tastemaker. There won't be another change agent like Quincy Jones for the foreseeable future. It's just not possible. I mean, like I said, people like Quincy, like Clarence Avant, like Barry Gordy, these folks, they come along, like Haley's Comet, basically. And like I said, you feel privileged to have existed on the same plane in the same time period as those guys. And, Quincy can take his rest now. Clarence Avant is rested for a while. We're going to, give Barry Gordy his flowers while he can still smell them before he takes his leave. And, it's just awesome to think that, in spite of all the pain that Black people go through, we still exist as the ones. I mean, people can say that, Black Americans have no culture, but we are the most copied, the most aped, the most duplicated, the most stolen from people on the planet. You can't deny that. So it's going to be tough sledding for us with this new administration, well, an old new administration or whatever, but we have so many people who showed us a blueprint, gave us a guideline to create, to support, to collaborate, to love, to respect, to mentor. We just got to follow their blueprints, man. We just got to follow their blueprints. It's really that simple. Hopefully we can do so. And that's going to do it for this edition of the Chris Stevens Writes YouTube show. Greatly appreciate your time as always. Contact information will be in the description below. Don't forget to like this video and comment if you like what you heard here. And don't forget to subscribe and tap that notification bell so you're notified of all new content that drops on this channel. I'm going to do an episode of the overnight scenario. It's not going to be overtly sexy, I don't think, because, I mean, who's in a sexy mood right now? I mean, maybe we'll get back to being, in that vibe. But for right now, feels like this edition of the overnight scenario is going to be another come to Jesus as far as like, heterosexual dating and, women's right, a woman's right to choose, and reproductive rights. So, yeah. That's probably what Thursday's overnight scenario is going to be about. So thank y'all for watching. Greatly appreciate your time. Until the next time I see y'all, which is later on this week, y'all be good or be good at it.